Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I've got a special build for you guys. This build is near and dear to my heart. If I had to put my hat on a build and say this is the best build I've ever made, it would probably be this one. Now, I understand that this build is becoming more and more meta as people figure out the game, but I've been playing it for a long time. If you go look at videos on my channel, the Funny Moments number 2 is a good example of this. There's a lot of clips of me using this build in that video. Now, the reason I got the name for this build, it wasn't actually given to me. I went into a stronghold, an enemy stronghold, and fought against 6 people by myself for more than 15 minutes straight, killing several of them and only dying because my Campadon eventually glitched me out of the wall, and I'm sure I'll put footage of that on screen at some point. So the enemy went out of their way to upload footage of me, calling me a raid boss and giving me compliments. Now, if you've never had anything like that happen to you, you might want to look at this build because it is incredibly powerful. So I'm going to be talking some mad shit with this build. I'm pretty proud of how strong it is. It is overpowered, but it's only overpowered in certain situations, and you can go out of your way to put yourself into those situations. So, what is this build? What is this build guide going to be? This build guide is going to be for the veteran players out there. This is not cheap. This is not easy to get into. This is not something that is easy to maintain or keep online. You're going to be burning through money if you don't know what you're doing on this build. But it is extremely powerful and it can be something great to work towards. Before I get started, a quick shout out to the website. All of these builds can be found on mo2builds.com. If you have questions or you're curious, or if you're hunting for a new guild or something like that, check out mo2builds.com. It's a great resource. So I'm going to go ahead and relax. I'm going to start talking about the build. I'm going to go over all of the details of it, and then I'm going to get into the tier list, and I'm going to break down every little detail. And this one's a little bit special because I've been playing it for so long. I have a couple different clips, and I'll kind of put those on screen as we go along to just demonstrate how powerful this character can actually be. So this is a full Sardukan human. You've got age 62 for maximum intellect and maximum psych, minimum height, and obese weight. The armor that you're going to be wearing, you are going to be doing the pretty standard mage build where you build a really heavy medium chest piece with panzer scales and iron fur, and then you run an ironwood tungsteel shield that you toggle on and off. If you toggle it on and you have your free armor weight trinket, you're at 19.24. You are underweight. You can actually carry all of it and move. Your mana regen goes down to 20%, but if you toggle the shield off, your mana regen goes up to 73%. And 73% is a lot for a mage when the mage has almost 300 mana. 300 mana. Now, if you don't know, mana regeneration in this game comes from a couple different things, like your skills and vitality and stuff like that, or vitalism, sorry. One factor, the biggest factor, is your overall mana pool. The bigger the pool, the more mana you get, because mana regeneration is a percent-based thing. So, bigger pool, more mana per tick. This is the most mana you can have in the game. Now, I do have, let me say that this build, what you're seeing on screen, does have some screenshots here. I've got 2+4 raw psych rings, and I've got 2+10 mana rings. Those are expensive. Don't expect to get those right out the gate, but just take 28 mana off the top here, or 26 mana off the top here. 28, if you look at it. You're still in the 270, 280 range for mana. That's sorry, but that's a fuck ton of mana, right? So you have respectable health. You're at 180. You have terrible stamina. Your combat speed is not the worst that you would imagine. With dexterity this low at 50, you'd expect it to be a lot lower, but you're moving at just below, like at or just below Ogmir speeds. So you're not crawling. You can run around at okay speed, especially with your shield out, and you can keep up with your guild when you're running through a dungeon. You're not going to have people like stopping to wait for you when you know, like how you get the Ogmirs that never get off their horse and they have to get off their horse to walk through the dungeon and people have to wait on them. You're not going to have that problem. So you have absolutely insane mana, respectable health, great defense, okay movement speed, and absolutely insane mana regeneration. The best in the game. Okay. I'm not going to talk about profession skills. If you're this deep into the game and you're going for a build like this, you should know how to build your professions at this point, right? I like to be able to craft my own armor and my shields on this character because I'm looking for very specific things. And then if you want to be able to get the best armors for your pet, go for those master alloys, learn how to craft Ogmium Campodon armor, Ogmium Molva armor, Chronite armors for your pets, that type of stuff. Make sure you know how to do that. Super valuable. If not, just throw money at the problem like I do. Okay, so you have advanced creature control at 96. You can put this at 100 if you want the full 100 creature control points, but to control a max level Molva or a max level Campo, you only need the 96 in there, so you save a couple points. You have Beast Mastery at 100, and Beast Mastery at 100 is for two things. A, it increases the damage of your overall pets by 25%. I believe it's 25%. Either way, it's a flat damage bonus for your pets, so you just kind of have to have it. And then it unlocks special abilities. Beast Mastery abilities overall are garbo. There's not very many good ones. The Molva ones are okay for like travel, but for combat you're never really going to use them. The Campo one though, the Campo, specifically the Mastery one for max level Campodon, is that yeet that you get. And I have a clip of it at the very beginning of my funny moments number 2, where I literally have 2 Campodons and I juggle somebody to death with it. It is an AoE cleave. It knocks people 15 to 20 feet in the air. They take fall damage when they hit the ground. And it, like I said, is AoE, which is nuts, and it hits extremely hard, and I think it does blunt damage, so it does a lot of damage in a giant AoE. It is the best Beastmaster ability in the game, worth having just for that. It is super fun to play with. You can knock people off of cliffs and bridges. I used it in the Cursed Pass over a couple big team fights and just yeeted everybody all over the place, sometimes knocking your teammates and my teammates flying and knocking them into the river. Super fun ability, super cool. It's like the only good Beastmaster ability in the game. Ecumenical at 100, you're going to rely on this to get people on the deck off of their horse. So you have enough mana and sustain that you can survive somebody circling you on horse for a very long time. They're going to get antsy, they're going to get itchy, they're going to get close to you. You can pillar hump on a tree or something to force them in, land the earthquake, they're dead. Right. Your elementalism, you have enough for shock. Shock is extremely powerful now. So you have all of those propulsion spells all the way up to shock. You have fireball built into your kit as well, so you can fireball. You have necromancy at 92. To give you some perspective with this build, you have so much mana, even without those trinkets, that you can have 12 Greater Walkers up at once. 12, and be mana neutral. You are literally a one-man army. When I say you are a raid boss, you not only have your lieutenant, your big-ass pet with crazy-ass health and armor and damage that is a heat-seeking torpedo, but you also have an army of undead if you have the time to prep it. You can be mana neutral at 12, which means that you're not gaining or bleeding mana, and you still have 300 mana to play with in that fight. Let that sink in. How insane that is. Now you have to have the Walker lore, right? So don't forget to pick up your Walker lore and make sure you have that. But just absolute, like, complete fuckery. Because you're a human, you get the mounted skills, so you get the plus 15 or whatever it is in all mounted skills. So if you put just a few points, I think it's like 2 points into controlled riding, you unlock it 25, and then 2 more points into mounted magery unlocks mounted magery. So For like 4 points, you get 25 points at Matter Magery. So if you're on a mount, you're hitting for your spells aren't full potential, but they're at least a little bit better. I mean, there's not many downsides to this build, but before we jump into the tier list, just want to say that, if you're watching this and this is useful and you think you're going to run this build, super chats are appreciated. You can leave comments on YouTube now with a little donation. Those are always appreciated. They kind of keep the wife aggro down. But let's jump into the tier list and talk about how fucking nuts this build is. For PvP, S tier. Oh, you guys are gonna laugh because this is gonna be the most biased I've ever been. For PvE, this is S tier. For solo, okay, let's slow down. I'm getting ahead of myself here. For PvP, you have, not only do you have the human war cries, which are absolutely busted. You can Ossurge. You can have 12 greater walkers. You can have a ginormous pet. If you have a Campodon or something like that, you can run into it and have it peel for yourself. You no longer need a footy in the backline to peel for you. You dictate the pace of combat through action economy. So if you look at on screen, that Campodon at max level has 1200 health. When you put Ogmium armor on it, it takes almost no damage from bows and weapons and all kinds of other stuff. And the enemy, when they're looking at the battlefield, the only thing they're looking at is that thing. That thing eats up so much attention and action economy in the fight. It is so valuable for reasons that you might not even think of. It's insane that for such a small amount of primary points, you can have a pet under your control like this. It's completely imbalanced. It's completely broken. Star Vault needs to rebalance pets and stop using PvE stat blocks for their creatures. So until they do that, I'm going to abuse the shit out of it. This character, that pet has 1200 HP, and you can put Ogmium on it. That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. So for PvP, it's fantastic. It's cracked out of its mind. For PvE, you can take a pet to meet the needs of whatever you're trying to do. And up here on this screen, I've got Mulvas. So if you need to travel, you want to be on a max level Mulva, ideally with steel armor or better. If you want to roll out with your team, you want to get on the back of somebody's horse. Make sure it's not a jungle or a desert, because you're probably too fat and you're going to slow your buddy down. But get on the back of a steppe horse or a Jotun or a mongrel with your boy and have him drive you around. You can roll around in second gear and the Campodon will keep up with you. And then have your Campodon go out. So if you're going out for any kind of a team fight, any kind of a dungeon, something like that, bring the Campodon out with you. And if you're going out in the future, in the next patch or so, you're going to be able to get bears and ride those. And those ride at second gear. So they're kind of the comfortable middle ground. And I would recommend getting a white bear. A white bear actually, with consistent uptime, has higher DPS than a Campodon. People are sleeping on white bears. They're about to be extremely oppressive and powerful in the meta. Okay. So PvE, you can tailor whatever pet you want. Oh, and another pet that's not really talked about a lot is the lizards, the water lizards. If you have Beast Mastery unlocked, they have two different types of spit. They have a long range spit and they have an AoE spit. If you do either of them and stack those abilities on a target, you can get 4 spits off at once and basically take someone from 100 to dead. So most people don't know about that. Most people don't want to go down to the jungle and get those pets leveled up, and then run around without a mount because you want 2 high level water lizards. You can 100 to 0 someone in 5 seconds with water lizards. People just don't know about it, right? So PvE, you can go kill trolls with your army of undead. You can do all kinds of shit. You can solo with turtles. You can solo with Campodons. You can do all the different trolls. You can do a couple different raid bosses by yourself. You can do Fab Tower by yourself. You can do a whole bunch of shit by yourself. So it's it's up there, man. Like, I can't think of anything that would be better. For solo play, it is, I don't know, man. For solo play, it's okay. It's middle of the road. When people see the pets that you go out with, when they see max level T-Birds, when they see high level Campodons and Mulvas, they get excited, man. Oh my god, there's a Campodon out here. He's wearing steel. There's a steel Campodon. He's outside town. Guys, get out here right now. Get out here right now. That's what happens on comms when they see you. And they want to kill that thing. So you get swarmed. So it's kind of rough playing it solo. It's going to be an expensive build to get caught out by yourself. But, you stand a really good chance of being able to fend people off, at least for a long time, on a Mulva or something like that, because you have so much protection from your tower shield while riding. You have so much mana. You can heal your Mulva through almost anything. Even though you don't have a bunch amount of magery skill, your intellect is so high to begin with. You're sitting at 126 intellect. Your lesser heal still hit for a decent amount, even without those skills. So you can keep stuff alive for a long, long time. For 1v1, this is S tier. So when we're, I always like to clarify there's a difference between 1v1 and duel. Dueling is like in town. 1v1 is fighting against any other build to the death. Who is going to be able to kill you with a Campodon that has 1200 HP while you have that much mana? There's other builds that can survive you and get away from you. Alverans can run away from you, but can they kill you? No. Fuck no. Like, there's nothing in the game short of maybe fighting this build that will be able to kill you. In this raid boss video that I reference, they bring out a high level T-Bird and put it on me. So it's like 5 or 6 guys versus me, and they have a T-Bird on me. And I still fight that shit off. So it's insane. For dueling, you can't duel on this. Dueling's like in town. It's like melee only, no magic, no pets, no nothing. This is not a dueling build at all. 1vx is absolutely cracked out of its mind. Literally been called a raid boss on this character before because it was so hard for a group of players to kill me. Offense, again, I'll put it here. If your pet dies, your offense goes down. You're really dependent on magic damage, which is skill based, and you can eventually run out of mana like all other mages. And when that happens, you're a sitting duck, more or less. But I mean, like, you take your shield off, you sit down for 5 seconds, and you get mana back. It's like really hard, really hard to run out of mana on this build. Defense, it depends a lot on what kind of pet you have online. So if you have a Campodon, your defense is much, much higher because you can just literally hug your Campodon and cycle the targets. And Pillar Hump, you can go into corners, put the shield on your back, and heal yourself. So I'll put it middle of the road. Like, from a mage perspective, this is one of the best for defenses. If you don't want to run a tower shield, you could just run like super heavy armor. You could even put on steel. You can carry steel in your bag and throw it on if that's something that you want to do to just up your defense for certain fights or certain encounters. Because you're already putting so much money into this kit anyways. Like, a max level Campodon is extremely expensive. The really good armor on the pet is expensive. The kit that you're wearing and all the reagents and random shit that you need is expensive, right? So you're already so invested. Carrying an extra piece of gear that you can cycle on for the different engagements might not be the worst idea, right? You can definitely put it in the bags. If you don't know, Campodons can carry 25 stacks of stuff. 25 stacks. So this makes it one of the best transport for bulk transport if you're doing construction or TC related stuff with your guild and you want to transport a shit ton of material like granum or wood out of town back to your base or wherever. This is one of the best ways to do it, and you actually can have 25 stacks even on a baby Campodon. So if you can have 2 baby Campodons, you could carry 50 stacks of stuff, you're just going to have like no health on those Campodons, so they will die easily. Team fights, man, I'm so biased. People are gonna, when I talk this confidently about a build, all of the little critics come out and they like to nitpick every little thing that I've said and every little thing. But man, I feel so confident that this build is just insane. It is so powerful if played the right way. It's unbelievable, right? For money, for cost, like how expensive is it to run this build? I've already talked about it. It's extremely expensive to run this build, right? 1200 Ogmium or Chronite per set. I wouldn't run Chronite. I made the Chronite in this picture for the memes because it's real shiny. It looks cool. But you want to run Tungsteel or Ogmium, right? Ogmium for the important shit, Tungsteel for the day-to-day. So 1200 Tung, that's not cheap. That adds up. Plus a max level Campodon every time you step out the gate. That adds up. It's not cheap. Utility. You're really, really high up there, right? Your only downside is killing enemy horses. So sometimes it can be hard for you to kill an enemy horse, but you have so much mana, you can outburst and kind of zone people out. Killing horses isn't a huge concern for this build. If they get close enough, you earthquake them. If they stay close, like medium range, you shock them. If they go far away, you outburst them. And you have enough mana that you can do like 18 fulminates in a row or there's some crazy number of how many high damage spells and high cost spells you can do back to back to back to back to back, right? Skill cap. So skill cap, like S tier would be like the easiest thing to play and get value from. F tier would be like really low. I will say that being a tamer, people say that it is extremely easy, and it is, right? There are situations where the enemy just does not have a chance. And like I said before, Star Vault really needs to rebalance pets. Because if I come across an Ogmir or a Thursar in the open world, and they have to fight my Campodon and me. It's already bad enough they have to fight a pet that has some of the best armor in the game with 1200 health that hits people in Reptile for between 30 to 50 damage per swing. But I'm behind it with 300 mana, and I lesser heal for around 35 to 40. So, good luck. Also, if you push me, I death hand you, I T-lash you, I fireball you, I shock you, or I put 12 Greater Walkers on you. Have fun fighting me. You just don't have a chance. There's no chance in that scenario. It's basically an automatic loss. So, I won't put it in F tier, but what I'll say is, to get competent with the build and understand when you should be using your pets, when you should be running, when you should commit to fights and not just sending them in as torpedoes at the beginning of the match, and like learning that game sense takes a while. You're gonna burn through a lot of pets before you see some success here, right? Don't be afraid to do that, right? Don't be afraid to learn through trial and error and figure out what works and what doesn't. Keep an eye out for pets that are getting armor added to them to see how good they are, right? So you've got Shore Prowlers, armor's getting added to those. Those are going to be garbage. Their animations are way too easy to read. But bears, like I talked about, are going to be nuts. So they're going to be super, super good. Uptime. Like, how often are you getting value from your build? I'll put this in B tier. There are certain things in your build when your pet dies, those become dead stats, but this isn't the typical fat mage that you would think of. Most fat mages have a lot of mounted skills. This doesn't have that. This has like 4 points dedicated to mounted skills, and then it gets a bunch of free points for being human. So the uptime on this is actually really good, right? So that's great. Crafting. It's a human, and you have really high intelligence and psych, which means you get a bunch of free profession points. So you can fit a lot into this build. You can make your kind of weird, nuanced pet crafts that you want. Because not many people are making Ogmium Campodon armor. You got the big siege guilds that do it. It's because it's meta, and it's badass. Like, look at that thing. That thing in the picture there looks badass. So there's people that do it, but they're rare. So being able to do it for yourself is a good thing. Fun. F is for friends that do stuff together. Like, this is one of the most fun builds I've ever played. Like, you can hear it in my voice if you watch the funny moments video where I'm literally juggling people with Campodons. It's so, like, oppressive when you want it to be. Overall S, like, obviously you can see that I really, really think this build is good. It leverages all of the most overpowered things in the game to just stack the deck in your favor extremely hard. Now, downsides, if I'm being realistic, it's a slow character. You don't have very good armor on your arms and your legs, so if somebody is getting around your shield and you don't have cover or something you can push up against to body block, or you don't have a big pet, you're not going to survive. Like, you are a fat mage on foot. Now, if you take that into consideration, you can death hand through that damage. It takes a lot of practice to get good with death hand, but once you get the timing down and you learn how it works, you can actually make good kills with it. And there's a couple clips, I keep referencing that video, where I'm in a house fighting against a Thursar. You know, the class in the game that does the most melee damage possible. And I death hand through their damage, and I'm doing more damage and healing to myself than they can put out on me. Even though I'm just standing in front of them, and they can hit me as much as they want. So, this build has its moments, man. And when you have those moments, it feels so, so good and so, so rewarding. It's going to be expensive. It's going to take you a long time to get this stuff online. It's going to take you a long time to get your equerries built up, get those tungsteel sets built up, get your armor crafted, get all of that stuff built up, read all these books, learn all these lores. But goddamn, man, I mean, it wouldn't be cool if it was easy. So if you want to be a fucking raid boss, here you go. Well, if you guys enjoyed this, you thought it was cool, you think you learned something, again, super chats appreciated. If not, I appreciate you guys being here anyways. Thanks so much for your time. Have a good rest of your day.